Coming up on this episode, I've got two new sections for you, a positive news and a rant section. So, trust me, you're going to want to stick around for the rant especially. I'm going to get a lot more John on you, and it's going to be interesting. Anyway, let's get into the episode. What's going on, beautiful people? This is the Perspective Chasers podcast, and I am your host, John. On this episode, I want to talk about becoming obsessed. And this is something that I'm literally going through right now, and it is giving me an absolute jolt of positivity. So I want to share it with the world. First of all, as promised, we've got a new segment. Each episode I'm going to share a bit of positive news from the world, and trust me, it's not easy to find overall positive news that has no downsides. But I managed to find one. So here we go. We've got a story from Wales about a 5-year-old boy who started reading books at a nursing home. Now, this story I've got on BBC, and just a little overview of the story. A book-loving 5-year-old has brought joy to the care home residents by reading his favourite stories to them. Harry, 5, spends his free time after school reading to residents in Pendine Park's Highfield Care Home in Wrexham. His mum Laura said it was his love of reading that inspired her to bring the book fanatic to the care home where she works. Harry has become a firm favourite among residents, and his mum said their face lights up when he arrives. Laura, a senior care home practitioner at Highfield, added, staff also have got to know him well and always shout out, "Hello, Harry," when he arrives. They all know him and enjoy hearing how well he's progressing with his reading. Harry added, "It's great, I like making them smile, and it's nice when they help me if I get stuck on anything." Harry's favourite book is Biff, Chip and Kipper's series of adventures. Now, I don't want to go too much into the ins and outs of the stories, but by all means look up the story, even if it's just a reminder that there are these bits of positivity out there. Like this little boy, he could be out there like probably 90% of other kids his age that are on social media doing this, that, or whatever else. But he's taking time to not only better his own experience, but make the lives of other people better as well. And he's growing and developing through that, and so are they. And trust me when I say I spent a good few hours looking over different news stories for a story that was completely positive, where I feel it had no downsides to me from any angle. And this was the first one that stuck out to me. So hats off to you. That is genuinely a heartwarming story to me. To make time for people that are basically waiting for their end. Do you know what I mean? Like these people don't see much joy. And I've been in and around care homes, and it's not always the warmest of environments. So to be bringing the warmth of not just his happiness, but also like making the time to sit with them and read. And then the story goes on to basically say that they got in more children into the program and everything else to make it a regular thing. And that sounds like something that is absolutely amazing. Like the lessons that those generations will be able to teach these young children and vice versa. Like there is so much to be gained in that scenario. So I think that is an amazingly beautiful story to share with you this week or in this episode. But anyway, let's get into the main episode, Becoming Obsessed. So obviously we're encroaching on, this is episode 50. And while I've been on this journey, I looked into different things about podcasting, and obviously I had my own reasons. Inevitably I do want to make money from this and do this as a full-time job, but it's more to it than that. I said before, I think it was on the role model episode, where I've never really had somebody to look up to, or something where I can get like passionate and get behind things. Maybe I have, but not so much where it comes to mind, like I want to devote my life to this or whatever else. Whereas now I do. And it's still taken a lot of understanding, and I'm learning new things about myself and the journey all the time. But it's a growing obsession now. And looking back in hindsight, I have had obsessions before and I have had passions before, but I was watching a video by a guy called Alex. I forget his last name. If you see him, you would recognize him. He big guy, muscles everywhere, bearded, does loads of motivational talks. Hats off to you, bro. I was watching one of his videos, and he basically puts up this graph that it's basically talking about like the journey of progression, and how you start out with your, you start out with your idea of what things are, and then you come to like the reality, and then you're down in the dumps because you don't know how. And then if you stick with that, there's a chance for you to pull through to the other end. But most people jump out there, or they jump out when they get to that stalemate. So like, I used to be a personal trainer. It's very much like you get a plateau while training. So when you first start training in the gym, you'll make an initial bit of progress in the first few weeks. You might see increases in stamina, strength and everything else, a bit of water weight loss, and you think you're doing great. All of a sudden you're 3 months in, being more consistent than you was on day 30 or whatever else, but you now stop seeing the results. Well, it don't mean the results ain't going to come. It just means you've got to ride out that plateau. You maybe have to do something different. Maybe what you were doing has taken you as far as you're going to get, and now it's time for you to double down and improve, adapt or change. And watching his video about motivation and everything else, it just clicked that thing in my head where it's just like, this is it. Like, this is why I've got to that point now where I've been doing this nearly 6 months, and most podcasts seem to fall off after 6 months. Now, I have no intentions of falling off. I'm going to ride this beauty as far as I can until it kicks off, because I genuinely enjoy doing this. Without even realizing it, I've become obsessed with talking to the camera. I've become obsessed with the idea of who I can be. I've become obsessed with the idea of the life that I can have, and it energizes me. And the thing that energizes me more is when I can see myself doing the actions of that person that I want to become. When I can see that my obsession now is going to pay off in the future. Not because, damn it, I lost the train. It's going to pay off in the future, not because I've got something amazing that nobody else has, but because I never gave up on it. And that's the reality of it, is if you never give up, no matter what it is you're doing, eventually you'll break through. There are people that work on things for 40, 50, 60 years. Sometimes don't even finish it in their lifetime. How many people have had other people go on to finish their work after they've passed away? Like, there's so many things where it's understanding the value of yourself and understanding the value of your time, and then understanding how if you value your time more and you view your time in a different way, that can then pay forward into the future. So there's so many ways of looking at the benefits of becoming obsessed. Don't get me wrong. There's definitely a dark side of being obsessed, which I do not want to get into. But the positives of being obsessed, you can make immense progress, especially if you're obsessed with something that is within your control, i.e. a project, a business, an idea, whatever it is. If it's something of the positive nature, by all means get obsessed and see how far you can push it. Because that's where the fun lies. There's so many people that are on autopilot that, like I say, I was one of them. I still am. And I'll slip back into autopilot and I'll need to slap myself in the face and say, John, wake up. You need to get back on this. And it happens. I lose sense of time sometimes. I'll have a couple of days with my daughter and I haven't done work on the pod, and all of a sudden I've disassociated. It happens, but I'll rekindle that flame and I'll go again. And I'll make sure I'm consistent with it. No matter what, I'll make sure I'll hit my targets. And it's breeding something that's growing, and it's, what's the word? Damn it. I'm losing my words now. I'm getting too excited. It compiles over time. So like now I look back and I'm still going through day to day, but now I'm on episode 50. I've done 50 episodes of this podcast now that are now all up on YouTube, getting up on TikTok. Soon I'm going to put onto Spotify, but it's work that I've done that I can reuse. That's time that I've encapsulated, and it's going to pay on in the future. And that excites me. And because that excites me, it encourages me to do it more. And because I can see that I'm actively taking action to increase the speed of that cycle and push things further and further, it energizes me more. So then I'm like, okay, cool. What else can I do to improve the pod? How can I grow the pod? How can I make myself more better? It's terrible English. How can I make myself more complete, or a better host, or the project better in general? I don't care that I'm not getting paid for it at the minute. I enjoy sitting down doing this. Like I've said before, it's an outlet for me now. It helps me de-stress, and the final part of this show is definitely going to help me de-stress. Check out the new rant segment, trust me. It's going to get fun. But that's the whole thing, is it grows into something better. But if you never start that process, if you never start that project, if you never start that journey, if you never take that leap, it's never going to build the momentum to where you can get giddy and get to the point where it's like, yeah, this is going to go somewhere. So put in the groundwork. Like the biggest framework that I've done throughout this pod is document from episode 1 to episode whatever I go to, honestly. So even when I do break out and things do become successful and I am making money of this and it is my day-to-day living, you can look back and you don't have to ask me how I did it. You can go back and see. You can see the times where I bumbled and I'm monotone and it's not me on camera. But I didn't give up with it. I persevered until the time came where I could be me on camera. More so than just in energy or vibe, but in opinions, in ideas, in how I conduct myself, how I talk. But again, it understands where it doesn't start there. I like to say I've got levels of John that I introduce people to. Everything from John Zero to Diet John to Full Fat John, whatever else, right? Most people ain't ready for Full Fat John. That's for family and friends. But Diet John, John Zero, yeah, different people can get those versions of John, but not everybody's entitled to the full version of you, and that's okay. But learning how to draw out the value from each version and make the best of it, that's only going to add value to your life. And that's what I'm working on doing, and what I feel has happened. If you look back over the last 50 episodes, you can see the progression of me, not only in my attitude when I'm going through the ups and downs of life, but pushing through. But the progression of how I conduct myself on camera, how I want to portray myself, how the energy that I bring and everything else. And it's always going to be a roller coaster. Like I've said before, it's riding the wave of life. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down, but trust me, I'm always going to keep my head above water one way or another. I'm too stubborn to give up. But that's really the be all and end all of it. I can't really say more than find something and become obsessed with it. And if you're teetering on the edge of it, if you're doing creative writing, you're doing an art project, you've started a small business, you've fixed cars for a hobby, or whatever it is, if you've got a little flame, a little spark of something that you enjoy, fan that flame and become obsessed. Because that's obviously something that resonates with you. So becoming more attuned with that, it's only going to improve your quality of life. We live so out of sync with ourselves because there's so much that we have to do opposed to what we want to do. We've got bills to pay, mortgages, car payments, kids to feed, this, that, and everything else. That our wants, desires, our dreams, they become second nature, but they don't have to be. If you're stubborn enough and resilient enough, you can figure out a way to find the time. Like, there's so many distractions out there, and I've done episodes about this, that there's so many things that are going to pull you away from your time. But understand it is your time and you are in control. So it's down to you to be the master and dictate. And sometimes it's going to feel like you're being mean to yourself. And sometimes you are. But that's what it takes to become obsessed. You can't put things off. You can't put it on the back burner and say, oh, I'll do it here, I'll do it there, or whatever else, because then it's not a priority. It's not in the forefront of your mind. I go to sleep thinking about this podcast. I wake up thinking about this podcast. The only other thing I do that with is my daughter. Like, there are reasons why you get passionate about certain things. And I think if you don't fan the flames of that passion, you're doing yourself a massive disservice. So do yourself a favor and become obsessed. Right. Let's move on to the last part of the pod. The rant. Now, there are many things I could rant about. And trust me, I probably will. But there's... Oh, which one shall I pick? Because there's two that I'm teetering on. And one is a parent rant. And one is a road rage rant. And... we'll go with the parenting rant. So I'm in the middle of potty training my daughter, and we've got one of those toilet trainers. And my God, is it an absolute nightmare that I never thought I would ever have to wrestle with. But cleaning somebody else up after they've been to the toilet is an absolute hassle. It's one thing to clean yourself. It's another to clean somebody else. Now, when said individual, every time you're trying to clean them, decides to sit down and do more and create more of a mess, and this goes on 3-4 times in a row, it gets rather frustrating. Wet wipes have very little structural integrity, and a 3-year-old has very little patience. It's, especially when they're basically standing on a ladder and trying to balance on a tightrope, and you're trying to reverse wipe them and make sure they're actually clean. Like, it's not something that is easy by any means. And, like, there's no skill that I'd rather her learn faster than to wipe her own butt, because it will make my life a hell of a lot easier. Like, cleaning anybody, and I've done this for people old and young throughout my life. Cleaning anybody in any regard, whether it be bathing them or changing their bum, is awkward as hell. Like, it's easy to clean yourself. You've got full control, like you've got full 360 access to yourself pretty much. But to get leverage on cleaning somebody else sometimes, like, don't get me wrong, there's other aspects where what's that guy's joke? Oh, damn it. I'll let it go. I don't want him saying I'm trying to rip off his joke. But there's areas where you're just like, oh, cool, I missed that bit. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, so that's something that's really... I went on a massive rant to my mate about it, about how, like, the awkwardness of it and this, that, and everything else, and blah, 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 blah. And it's one of those ones where it's just like, look, I'm gonna do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, no matter how awkward it is, she needs help, I'm gonna provide that help regardless. Do you know what I mean? But it don't stop it being awkward. It don't stop it being frustrating that she sat there stood up mid-wipe where I'm like cleaning this mess, and we're heading towards a cleaner future. And then she sits down and does more, and then does that 4 times in a row. Like, are you serious, girl? How was you not done when I let you sit there for 10 minutes and go toilet and then ask? Like, I'm not somebody that is quick on the toilet myself, so by all means, take your time. But I asked you if you was finished and you said yes. We then have a trifecta where I'm trying to clean you up, and then you do more to make the situation worse. And there's only so many times you can take that. Whereas I'm trying to clean, I'm trying to make it better. Like, just be done. So yeah, that's today's rant of cleaning somebody else's bum. Welcome to my life. Anyway, let's bring it back down to level. The seed for this episode is going to be, give yourself that time to become obsessed with something. Don't put your hobbies on the back burner. Find that thing that is you, that makes you feel like you, that makes you feel like the best version of you and uplifts you. And do it as much as you can. Become obsessed with it and let it make the world a better place. Let that be your contribution to positivity in the world. And enjoy yourself. Beyond anything, try live a good, happy life which you could be proud of. All the best, and I'll catch you on the next one.